What if I told you that the most devastating strike on a Russian supply convoy in the winter of 2023 was not carried out by a North Atlantic Treaty Organization missile or a Ukrainian drone, but by a Russian tank with a Russian crew uniform and a Russian radio call sign? And what if I told you that for 48 full hours after it happened, the Russian command in Moscow still believed the tank was on their side, still received its radio check-ins, still marked it as operational on their maps, while it was quietly turning every convoy it met into a column of twisted metal? It was the second week of February in 2023, and the temperature in the Luhansk region had fallen to -14 degrees Celsius. The ground was frozen solid. The tree branches were heavy with ice. And somewhere along a forgotten stretch of road between two small villages, a Russian T-72B3 main battle tank sat motionless in a ditch, its left track damaged, its fuel tank half empty, its crew of 3 gone. According to reports later reviewed by military analysts, the tank had been abandoned after a small skirmish 4 days earlier. The Russian crew had attempted to repair the track, failed, and walked back to their own lines on foot. They reported the tank as a total loss. The paperwork was filed. The unit moved on, but the tank was not a total loss. That same night, a Ukrainian reconnaissance team of 6 soldiers moved through the woods and found it. They photographed it. They measured the damage, and by the second morning, a mechanic named Alexander, while a 39-year-old former farm equipment technician from the Poltava region, was lying underneath the tank in the snow, working on the drive sprocket with tools he had pulled from the trunk of a civilian pickup truck. The damage was not as severe as the Russians had believed. By the evening of the 3rd day, the track was back on. By the morning of the 4th day, the engine was running, and that was when the idea began. A senior Ukrainian intelligence officer, a woman named Natalia, who had spent 8 years working in signals intelligence before the war, looked at the photographs of the tank and noticed something the reconnaissance team had missed. The tank still had its original Russian identification codes painted on the turret. It still had its original radio, its original frequencies, and most importantly, it still had its original call sign logged in the Russian regional command network. According to intercepted communications reviewed during the operation, the Russian logistics coordinators in that sector had not yet updated their records. As far as Moscow knew, the tank was damaged, yes, but still officially part of the Russian order of battle. Natalia proposed something that no Ukrainian commander had attempted at this scale. They would not destroy the tank. They would not use it as a training trophy. They would put it back into service as a Russian tank, with a Ukrainian crew, speaking Russian, using the original call sign, and they would send it back onto the roads it had come from. The plan was approved within 72 hours. The crew was chosen carefully. 3 Ukrainian soldiers, all of them fluent Russian speakers from the eastern regions, all of them with prior experience operating Soviet-era armor. The commander was a 29-year-old captain named Mikhailo, who had grown up in a Russian-speaking household in Kharkiv, and who, according to his own later statements, spoke Russian with what he described as a perfectly neutral Rostov accent. The driver was Dmitro, 31, a former truck driver. The gunner was Pavlo, 26, a former forestry worker with a hunting background. Over the next 4 days, they rehearsed. They memorized the radio protocols. They studied the terrain. They practiced the patterns of Russian convoy behavior. And on the morning of the 8th day, the tank rolled out. What happened over the next 48 hours has been pieced together from a combination of intercepted Russian communications, recovered Russian logistics records, and the debriefing statements of the Ukrainian crew. The tank approached its first convoy just after 10 in the morning. 11 trucks carrying fuel, ammunition, and replacement parts. The convoy commander saw a friendly tank approaching, confirmed the call sign over the radio, and waved it into the column. The tank took up a position at the rear. For the next 40 minutes, it traveled with the convoy. Then, at a point along the road, where the terrain offered cover and the nearest Russian reinforcements were at least 25 kilometers away, the tank opened fire. According to recovered records, the entire engagement lasted less than 7 minutes. When it was over, though 9 of the 11 trucks had been disabled, the remaining 2 had turned around and were moving back the way they had come. The tank then continued down the road as if nothing had happened. It checked in over the radio at the scheduled time. It reported its position slightly altered. As moving toward a different sector, it received routine acknowledgments, and then it waited for the next convoy. Over the following 36 hours, the pattern repeated itself 3 more times. A Russian logistics convoy would appear on the road. The call sign would match. The friendly tank would wave it in, and then, at a moment chosen for terrain and isolation, the convoy would cease to exist as a functional unit. Russian command, unaware of what was happening, continued to mark the tank as operational, and continued to clear it through checkpoints over the radio, continued to route additional convoys through what they believed to be a secure corridor. The illusion held for 48 hours. It was only on the afternoon of the 10th day that a Russian officer reviewing a patchwork of incident reports from 3 different units began to notice a pattern. The locations were wrong, the timing was wrong, the casualty profiles were wrong, and when he finally ordered a direct visual verification of the tank's position, the search team found nothing. No tank, no tracks heading in the expected direction, no radio response. By then, Mikhailo and his crew had already crossed back into Ukrainian-held territory, abandoned the tank at a prepared location, and disappeared into a civilian vehicle. Also, the tank itself was later recovered by Ukrainian forces and repainted with standard markings. It went on, according to later reports, to serve for several more months in regular Ukrainian service. The operation was never officially announced. For months, the loss of the convoys was attributed in Russian internal reports to partisan activity, to reconnaissance strikes, to bad luck. The name of the captain was not released. The names of the crew were not released. Even the exact identification number of the tank has remained disputed among analysts who have studied the incident from open sources. What is clear is that for 2 full days in the winter of 2023, a single piece of Russian armor traveled through Russian-controlled territory, spoke on Russian radio networks, and answered to Russian command, meanwhile quietly reducing the operational strength of its own former side. The story survives today mostly through fragmented accounts, through the memories of those who were there, and through the quiet notes of analysts who still, years later, study this operation as an example of what patience and precision can achieve when combined with an understanding of how the other side listens, how the other side confirms, and how the other side trusts. The soldiers who carried out the operation returned to other assignments. Some of them are still serving, some of them are not. The tank itself, last seen in a maintenance depot, was eventually retired after several more months of active duty, and somewhere in a logistics office in Moscow, according to later reports. There is still a file that lists that particular tank as lost in February of 2023, with the cause of loss listed simply as mechanical failure. If this story reminded you that the most decisive moves in modern conflict are often the ones nobody sees coming, take a moment before you leave. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next analysis. Every week, we look at one operation that changed the way analysts think about modern warfare, one decision that seemed small at the time but rewrote the outcome of something much larger. One story that was almost lost in the fog before someone, somewhere, managed to piece it back together. If this particular story held your attention until the end, the like button is the single most useful signal you can send. It tells the algorithm that this kind of work, on this kind of slow, careful, detail-driven storytelling, is what you want to see more of. Leave a comment with the operation you want analyzed next. We read them. We choose from them. The next video on this channel might be the one you suggested. And if you know someone who studies military history, someone who follows the war closely, someone who appreciates a story told with patience and without shortcuts, Share this video with them. That is how channels like this one grow, one thoughtful viewer at a time. Until the next analysis, stay curious, stay skeptical of easy answers, and remember that in the fog of modern conflict, the most important story is almost always the one that has not yet been told.